Hi, welcome again to the Hummingbird podcast, the Conscious Relationship podcast with me, Julia Fetisova.
And me, Alex Roseman. Welcome.
We are back on track making the podcasts and bringing the discussions and the hot topics out. So today we felt inspired to share a little bit more of our experiences and our thoughts on what is going on with us and how we are integrating it into our lives with the intention to share it with you guys.
100%. It's when we hear a lot of news out there at the moment, there's not just a spread of the virus, but there's a spread of fear. And I remember when we first started talking about it, we were talking from an experience from an outsider.
Yeah.
And when we feel that we got into a place where we had probably contracted it ourselves from a flight back from London, and the cases in Cyprus were very minimal.
Yeah.
And I realised that when we were in it, it was a very different experience. It's very easy to say from the outside, everyone has their opinion, right? And suddenly when we have it, it was like, wait a minute, this changes everything. It's a different experience. And then we started straight away doing sort of Facebook Lives to share from our experience and not to be taken away from our centre towards the fear. And realising this, we shut down social media because we were so easily taken with the tsunami of fear, and we had to protect our space. And it's suddenly so much more evident because of the contrast between feeling in a calm, beautiful state to sucking up all the fear and seeing this story, breaking news and this, and it was just so much at one point that it can actually instill anxiety.
Sure.
Right? And then you feel, in fact, it constricts your breathing anyway. And you find it and it becomes psychosomatic, but when you actually have it, you feel even more constriction because of the fear. And that was so important for us at the time, to turn off notifications and just to distance ourselves and start focusing on the inner healing.
Yeah.
And really doing everything we could. And you were guiding me on a spiritual healing sessions, and I could really feel the difference, and just love and the support. And it's so important in this time to have support and someone who's with you, who is really a positive ray of light that you were. So I didn't have to worry about it. You were sort of not creating any resistance. You were there just supporting 100%, which allowed me to just focus on myself, to heal, because I'm someone who likes to be with you, to know that can I help, can I do this, can I do that, even if it means helping in the kitchen, whenever it might be. It's very hard when you're suddenly being selfish, and that's what it is. It's having to be selfish at the time when you need to recover.
Yeah.
What do you feel from that whole situation?
Yeah, and I feel it's actually also the time to be selfless as well. It's such an interesting dynamic, because the focus completely goes away from what we all were focusing on before, the things that we were busy with, that we kept ourselves busy with. I mean, oh my God, we had such a busy lifestyle, hopping on planes, going here and there, and constantly active and constantly kind of stimulated with all the projects and everything we had. And then all of a sudden it was just dead quiet, and all you would hear is like whispers here and there and here and there, because when you get that immediate shock wave, this immediate shock wave creates first of all this hold position. We spoke about that often, where it's just the fear of the unknown, and because there is not enough information out there, people just don't know how to react. So, as coming back to what you were saying before, changing the dynamics where you needed to look after yourself, and it was really such a crucial time to really focus on yourself. And it's also the time for me to have been selfless. And it actually comes easy, and it comes with pleasure when you do it for somebody you care for, because then you look beyond yourself. And we spoke about that before. You look beyond yourself and you find out the capabilities that you have in you, and it actually feels good to be selfless. when you are an empath, when you are a person of an empathetic nature, it feels good to be selfless, because at that point in time, it becomes your purpose to a degree, and having to see what you can give, help the other person, is probably the best reward that you can get.
Yeah, I that's why I didn't feel guilty in it, and it's again how we are reacting through it. If it's being ill and receiving, and how you feel about receiving, again, that's something to look at and go, well, why do I feel that feeling I feel? And this is a time of self-development being such a commodity right now, and thankfully we've invested years in investing in ourselves. So when we got to this point, we never thought it would happen. You know, we all deal with challenges in our lives, but when it becomes such a whole global crisis, this tool that we've been learning to help us through just the challenges of our own personal life. You know, when I've realized how fundamental they were when it attacked my respiratory and I couldn't breathe, and I was thinking that night, I realized there was something going on that it was hard for me to let go, because I was so conscious of my breathing, like making sure it goes in and out, and thinking about my lungs, and you can easily be pulled into the fear when you can't breathe, to then go, right, I need to do some inner healing work and allow to let go and believe that my body will take over and it will have me when I'm sleeping. And I never thought that, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whenever it kicked off, that I'd be thinking that I'd be in a place where hopefully tonight I will sleep, I will breathe, and I will wake up, and how quickly from just traveling and being, I'm healthy, we exercise, everything else, to suddenly having that in that moment taken away from us. We take it for granted. Of course, we never usually have to think about it. We're unconscious to our breathing. It just happens. To suddenly have it taken away for a moment, to then consciously think about it, it just shows you how much there is to be grateful for. But in a time like this, do we get taken, do we decide to learn from it? And I was thinking about earlier, when people, their lives have been completely rattled, it's a time for everyone to think, am I enjoying what I'm doing? Am I looking forward to get back to the job I'm doing? If not, this is a time to start looking. If you can't go outside, then you might as well go inside, right? And looking in and going, well, what is it I want to do? And if you don't know how to find that, or you don't know how to get to that part of yourself, there's so many resources out there, from Simon Sinek, Know Your Why, to courses that we create, to meditations, to whatever it is. I mean, it's all out there if you choose to look for it. And life doesn't have to go back to normal or to the way you didn't want it before. This is a time to stop, reflect, and go, right, what do I actually want? Now I realize that, now is a wake-up call to know that life is rather quite short and anything could happen. It's affected everyone. So why not use this time, instead of being a victim and in fear, to become a leader and go, right, I want to now create, my universe and create the life that I want.
Creating the universe, this is it. It's really creating the new platform of the new current consciousness and the new humanity. Because we were talking about yesterday that it's like this virus has somehow is so targeted in a way to kind of like shed how you say it, like to shed what doesn't serve us anymore.
Yeah.
And then that's why I'm a firm believer that when it's over, we're gonna come out not the same. Things will be so different. And it's as you rightly pointed out, I do believe that the best investments you could have made ever are the investments in your personal development, because this is where it starts and this is where it ends. And like you said, it's at the times like this where you are not distracted and you're sitting with yourself and you have access to so many resources. Thank God for internet, right? It's like it's brought us all closer together, but it's also brought us closer together to ourselves to a degree. So all of these years of the personal development that we have done are now our resources. are now ways that we can actually look back and think, my God, I actually have that strand of DNA that knows how to cope with change. I have that capability to adapt so much better. I know myself well enough to know I can pull through these things. So it's like everything has changed overnight. The things that what people saw as important and as valuable, somehow they have to be faced with themselves and see what resources they have within themselves.
Well, you're 100% right, and in this time, I'm sure we were aware of how unnecessary materialistic things are right now. When you're at home, you've got what you've got. All the things that you've ever needed, obviously, around you right now. The flashy cars or anything else is not a necessity.
No.
And people are realizing that. We've been in a place with absolutely luxury that we can have that, but at what cost? The detriments to what? And we've seen it. The world is needing to send us to our rooms to think about what we've done. And it's a great time for people to reflect and relax and stop. And the earth is, hopefully sorting itself out whilst we've got this time. It's interesting because if you haven't done the self-development and you've been distracting yourself from all of those materialistic things, the toughest time for those people are having it all taken away, those distractions that they can't escape to a Starbucks or work or whatever, and they have to stay where they are with themselves or with their family. And they may see themselves getting triggered by so many different things and blaming their partner or their kids, rather than actually going, right, I've got to look in here now and find out what is actually am I reacting to and why am I reacting to it? Because is it the person outside of yourself creating that fear, anger, or all those feelings you don't want? Or is that person creating it for themselves? Because it's like a tube of toothpaste, right? If you are full of love and someone comes along and pushes your buttons, like the toothpaste, if you squeeze it, toothpaste comes out, love would come out, right? It's whatever's inside the toothpaste. And if someone comes along and does something and anger comes out, then clearly it's not them who's made you angry. The anger's already there. So this is where self-development comes in. It's about taking extreme responsibility to know, why am I getting triggered? How do I then use those tools of self-development to look within and to disperse it so that whenever that thing happens again, I don't react the same way anymore because I've done the work. Because thankfully we've done it, so we're not reacting and triggering at arguments or shouting. None of that happens here because we've done the work on ourselves and we've taken responsibility. So there's no projection onto one another. And I'm sure a lot of people stuck in their homes right now are going through that, I can't deal with it anymore. And
that's actually the interesting part. I'd love to know how people are coping right now because they can't run away from their partners or their family anymore to work or to whatever. They have to face the things that they were sweeping under the carpet for so many years by saying, oh, sorry, I can't deal with this right now because I gotta go to work, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. This is the time when the Mother Earth sat the two kids down and said, you guys sort it out because this is the most important thing right now. And if you can't sort that out, then you need to make choices. You need to make different choices. The same goes with the relationships, the same goes with careers, with health. It's the most, I know it's devastating for a lot of people, but it's the most interesting and the most amazing time right now.
Well, they talked about consciousness shift, right? People have been saying it, 20, we just never knew how it was going to come along.
No.
And we're all waiting for this conscious upgrade, or some people might be listening to this going, what does that even mean? Well, consciousness is all about being aware of being self-aware, right? Now, our life is dictated by 95% of habits. Our subconscious is like a program. We're running of habits. We wake up, we have rituals we do in the morning. Successful people have successful rituals and they do it every single day. People who are not healthy, who may not have the money they want, have rituals, but they lead them down that road. It's the little things that compound every day. Now, consciousness is being aware of those habits. And as humanity, we're now becoming aware of a collective conscious habit, right, of things that we're doing. And because
like
of
what?
this, well, from over consuming,
oh, that is so true.
or from how we talk to each other. Where people might be reacting and shouting and blaming. All of this sort of negativity out there is going to have a detrimental effect, as you can see. Us doing godforsaken things to animals on a vast level, factory farming, and all of these things are very unconscious behaviours. Because if you're deeply conscious and caring, would you work in a slaughterhouse? Most likely not. Would people be eating? I'm just using it as an example. All right. It's just about how we go about our business every day. We get so caught up in our habits, like driving a car. At the beginning you're like trying to learn, and you're touching everything, and after a while it becomes a habit that you just get in, and you don't even think about it. You can think about other things.
That's the unconsciousness part.
That's the unconsciousness. Habitual. Yeah, it's habitual. So this is our way of becoming conscious of what we are doing collectively and individually. And this is us, because we can't go out there and do what we've been doing every day because it's shut off. We're at home. So all those habits we had out there are just up in the air. So suddenly we're aware of everything we're doing because it's brand new. Because we're new to it, because we would maybe get up in the morning and go to a Starbucks for a first coffee. I don't know why I keep using Starbucks. I'm not promoting Starbucks here. A Costa, whatever it is. But you can't do that. So you're now changing your routine, which means you're conscious of it now, because before it was just habitual. So the conscious upgrade is us being aware of what it is we're doing, and us to make a conscious decision. Well, what would it be like if we use this time to actually realize we don't maybe need all the materialistic things. I don't need to overconsume. Maybe I'll think about this type of food I eat. Maybe I'll think about how I speak to my family, because now they can be gone just like that. So it's a lot of that, and it works individually, and because it works individually, it then works as a whole humanity. It's not about waiting for the government to make the move. It's about everyone has a responsibility, and I know everyone listening to this are leaders, and I know they're responsible, and it's up to them to take this on and go, right, you know what, I'm going to turn this around. I'm not going to live in by the fear. I'm not going to wait for the government to do this or that. They don't decide what I do with my life. I decide what I do with my life, and this is how it's going to look now. And when you make that decision, and it's so much certainty in it, you will see that your whole world will change.
That's it, exactly. And this is exactly why we are doing what we're doing now with Hummingbird, for example, creating content after content for people to be able to then have that pathway to follow to a degree, because it will be still the inner pathway, but it will be just the guidelines. So we are working hard on creating programs and marathons, whatever it is that is necessary right now to be that guideline, to be that lighthouse, because our mission and what we are committed to is assisting the humankind in leading a better lifestyle that is more conscious, that is more responsible. And as you said, it's actually funny that you said that all the people that are watching us right now are leaders, because they would instinctively then go towards this kind of content.
Exactly.
In order to then, because there is something in us that responds to that. Those people who have that calling in them, who have that capacity in them, they will always respond to that. Like, as they said, there is no such thing as competition in personal development. No. There isn't, because
collaboration.
Yeah, it's all about collaboration, because each author, each leader, each personal development coach has their own audience, because their specific language, their specific vibrational impulse will then resonate with the right people. And that's why the most important thing, and I say that to everybody who I speak to that is in that field, I go, just get your content out, just bring out your gift, what's the best in you. Now is the time. Now is the best time to do that, because people are more responsive.
Well, it's more needed than anything. You realize that, you whatever the things that you found valuable outside in a time like this doesn't really matter. It's suddenly how you react.
Yeah.
Are you reacting, or are you in a place of stillness? Because if you act out of fear in this moment, you'll get that result back. And if you act from a place of calmness and you alchemize it, then you're going to get a different reaction back from outside, right? You're going to get a different result, and it's going to be a better result. And this is why it compounds. It's so fulfilling to know that the tools are there. Because I can only imagine if I was in this situation 10 years ago, how much I'd maybe react and blame and be in fear. But because of the work I've done, it's a completely different world of how we decide to see it. The same thing's happening, right, to everyone, but how everyone reacts to it is unique to them, right? Because one person could be like, oh God, it's the end of the world, oh my God, what are we going to do? And another person is seeing it as an opportunity. The same incident's happening, but they decided to choose a different alternative of how they see it. And that's what personal development's all about. So when a challenge comes, you don't operate from the old space of fear, you operate from a new space. And if you operate from that space, are you going to get a better result? Of course. You're going to get something that's going to be so much more nourishing for you, your family, for everyone around you. And that's what we need. We don't need fear to accumulate more fear right now, right? And this is why it's so important. And I just want to say, remember just yesterday we did a podcast with Chris,
yeah.
And he said something, and this is why it's so important for anyone watching this who are leaders, that if you've got an excuse, if you're excusing, oh, because of this, oh, because of that, well, we can't help you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? We can't help you because you're limited by your excuses and we're just not there. And if you want to stick with your excuses, well, if you argue for your limitations, they are yours.
That's absolutely true.
And we're not here to assist you and make you a victim. We're here to go, look, you can carry on that, and I'm sure it's serving you down here. But if you get rid of that, what are you really protecting yourself from? And are you willing to face that and go in yourself? Because it is hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy, and I get it. You know, doing that work and accepting it and going in yourself and
to admit to yourself actually that you have to take the responsibilities. It's funny because this scenario keeps coming to my mind when we're doing the insanity workouts in the morning with the kids. And every now and then I see Alex looking at me going, babe, come on, you can do this.
Lift your legs higher, you can do this.
Yeah, but I just had a sauna, I had a this and I had a that. Like excuses again. I understand, but I mean, we're all human and we all go there. Every now.
That's what happens when you're, you live with a coach. And the same goes for me. I want, and I would love for you to see if I'm coming up with excuses. And as much as I might go, it's not an excuse, I'll reflect and go, yeah, it's an excuse.
Yeah.
And it's a limitation. Do I want to hide behind my limitation? Or do I want to go learn from it, go beyond it?
But we don't realize that. We don't actually realize that because we give ourselves excuses to just postpone facing that, So, and I think it always boils down to leverage. It's what Anthony Robbins would say. How big is your why in order to overcome that? Again, coming back to Chris Christophe's interview that we did yesterday, podcast that we did yesterday, a highly functioning individual, an outstanding individual actually, and him saying the same thing, about...
What about the, hiding behind excuses? If you have an excuse, I can't help you. If you want to hold on to your excuse, go ahead. There's other people out there who need...
Exactly. And he says, this is not how I function. He goes, when somebody comes to me and they say, but this, and he says, I'm not interested in listening to excuses because that's not how I function. And this is exactly it. This is, I think, one of the components or one of the signs that you would see a highly functioning individual. Highly functioning individual does not produce excuses. He produces results.
You're 100% right. If I was going to meet a hurdle because I want to get somewhere, and then I went, I can't because of this and that, that's it. My only choice is to stop and give up. Yeah. If I was going to buy my excuses, but if I had someone around me and I'm listening to positive content like this to go, you know what, that thing I'm telling myself, I can't, that's not true. What am I protecting myself from here? Am I really going to play small? If I'm going to play small and limit myself, let me just call it for what it is. I'm lazy, or I'm just scared, rather than hiding behind an excuse.
So when somebody admits that, so for example, I am scared. I mean, that's a big thing to admit to yourself, especially if people don't see being scared as weakness, right? So once they are in that point and they're like, okay, I'm scared. What then? What's next?
Write it down. Go, you know what? What am I actually scared of? Is it justifiable? And you write it down. Okay. So then how can I find solutions to that? And then you look at ways, instead of looking at the problem and seeing this big mountain ahead of you, is to accept it. Look, accepting the feelings that are in you, of course, And because most people are so afraid to touch their feelings, they don't know how to deal with it. So I had this sort of, imagine a stickman diagram, an arrow going out, something happens, someone says something, whatever it is, you know, you have to then look in yourself. If you can't handle that, the feeling of rejection, you then look at something outside of yourself, like food, drugs, booze, TV, in order for you not to have to feel it. So it is about looking in and going, you know what, let me just sit for a minute. What am I actually excusing myself from? What am I actually scared of? And when you start writing, you might be quite surprised at what you write. And that, away, is just awareness. And it's very cathartic, and so it's actually, solutions come to you.
Yeah, so it's basically asking yourself questions, right?
Yeah.
Where you kind of go, okay, if it wasn't the government's fault, if it wasn't the outside sources, the economy's fault, if it wasn't my neighbor's fault, if it wasn't my partner's fault, if it wasn't my parents' fault, for example, where else do I have to turn?
Well, that's the quality of questions depends on the quality of your life.
There we go.
And exactly that. And if you excuse yourself from blaming everyone else, because I've got to say, where is the power if you're saying that your life is because, you know, my parents were like this when I was growing up, so that's why my life is like that, so you're to blame, or the government's to blame. There is no power. You have nothing. You are a victim, and you're given everything to everyone else.
But then remember, we were speaking about this morning, that people like to keep that story alive because it satisfies their needs. What is the need that satisfies?
Well, depending on what their story is, it gets them to stay away from taking responsibility. Most people do not want to take responsibility.
But they also feed off of the idea of making somebody else's wrong. It makes them feel good because it gives them significance.
Yeah, they don't have to take responsibility if you make someone else wrong.
And that is the amazing part. I mean, so many situations that I see that in the workplace or in families, you know, families fall apart, and they fall apart because people are just busy doing this, and then people take sides without even knowing the sides of the story. We spoke about that.
It's just a story.
And it's just a story.
You were saying earlier.
Yeah, exactly. So people disconnect from one another based on the story they have created in their mind, which they haven't even bothered to verify, because to them it brings them connection somehow with the other family members, because they feel like they're strong together in that way when they have a enemy or a scapegoat or whatever to fight against.
Yeah.
But then what does it do? It keeps them stagnant in a position where they cannot grow out of. Because what they're doing by keeping themselves going around the same bend, and you know, it's so much easier to notice that once you just take a bit more of a bird's view, and you realize, hang on a second, we've been around that bend already many times. And you know what? A lot of people will carry on doing that, and they'll pass it on to their children. Because this is the way they feel they can connect to one another. People connect through problems.
Yeah, well, that's I know Tony Robbins was saying it's probably the Western world's biggest addiction is problems, because it gives us connection. When anyone approaches me about a problem, straight away I ask them, how does it serve you? And they're like, well, it doesn't serve me, it's a problem. The reason it's a problem, it serves you. And there's something called the 6 human needs Tony talks about. And if it meets 3 or more of those human needs, you become addicted to the problem, depending on the intensity between 1 and 10. And as soon as you see that, you go, oh my goodness, I'm addicted to this problem. What is it giving me? And then you realize that, and you go, do I want my life to be dictated by this problem? Do I want this story to talk about all the time? Do I want to make this person wrong so I can feel right? Because there's a thing, you know, you want to be right, or do you want to be in love? You want to be right, or do you want to be rich? And it's like, that is everything. So if you want to play the game of life, it's not about being right.
Sorry, but I had a dream last night, and I thought I'm gonna have to tell you.
Oh, you did have a dream last night. I always ask, what was your dream last night?
But it was actually a phrase. It's not about who is being right. It's about who has more certainty, and the one with more certainty wins, right? And I don't know if I said that before, but I think it kind of like really rang true in my dream. And I thought to myself, when I wake up, I have to tell you, right? And because in the end of the day, and again, Chris was saying the same thing. When you really believe in something, whether it's true or not, and it will be true to you at that point in time. That's why you see so many people with disorders, to a degree, whichever disorder they are. Their story is so believable because they are so certain and they believe in it themselves. Even if they believe they were abducted by aliens, one or two people who are around them will actually believe them because of the certainty of that story. They go over and over and over again, think of every single, and what do they do there? At that point in time, they're escaping.
Yeah, escaping from their own life.
And they're escaping from the truth.
I mean, how many cults have been started because one person has believed so much about a certain thing, and then other people believe in it because, well, what makes them more susceptible to that? You know, it's like it being hypnotized. And we get hypnotized by the news all the time. You're getting hypnotized by the stories that they tell us. And we've got to go, wait a minute, step back here. Is this what I want to get hypnotized by? Is this really helping my life? Is this helping my family's life? Am I really going to buy into this story as much as they say it's true or not? What truth do I want to tell myself? Is it going to empower me, or is it feeling like I'm being disempowered and I'm going to be like a sheep and follow, you know, everything that the news is telling me? I mean, it's completely in your hands of what you choose, what story, what narrative you want to live by. And it's very unconscious. We all have we probably have should we say, a story that we're not conscious of, that we tell ourselves from a very young age. And we're living by this narrative, and how we behave is based on that story of how we see ourselves. And we think that's true because at least it brings us comfort in the certainty of that story, right? It serves us. However, it may be disempowering and it's not true. You know, we get told a lie that we make a truth from such a young age, and to step out of that would be so uncertain, it would freak us out. It's like when we were having the conscious circle yesterday with Daniel and Eric, and we sit there and pass a spoon so that they can, whoever holds the spoon speaks their truth, right? And we get to speak our truth of what it feels like to have to say, look, no more playing on your phone, right, or something like this, and how they understand how we feel about the fact they may not listen. And when they get that, they get a connection to it. And then when suddenly, Daniel was very responsive when he usually maybe become quite resistant, it was such an unfamiliar feeling, wasn't it? And it was suddenly being aware of
both of us just looked at each other. It was one of those moments when he was like, when we said, okay, it's time to go to bed, and just went, okay. And both of us just looked at each other going, what did you sound like? This is why it's such an amazing experience having to share with you, because you really do bring that element of balance to the family, of harmony, when there's two of you kind of going towards the same what do you say, like, no, I wouldn't even say goal, but the same feeling, the same unity, the same vision, that it's done through love and through understanding, rather than telling them off and shouting at them all the time. If we were doing that, we would be repeating the stories that we have lived through when we were young.
Same pattern.
Pattern. And then actually what happens is that we are literally discovering a new way of family being together. Because I haven't had this example before in my life. I haven't seen it like that. I don't know if you have, but being able to literally build anew because of the trust and the understanding and the support you have with one another. And I know for a fact that children feel it. So now again, coming back to the fact that people are stuck in their homes with their kids, right? For some, it's a nightmare.
Well, it's the choice. If you think you're stuck, you're going to behave in that way.
Yeah.
If you say, I'm choosing to be here.
Yeah.
I'm choosing to be here to protect others who are more vulnerable. With that, you're empowering yourself. If you say you're stuck, you're disempowering yourself. So already changing the narrative just around the situation you're in. Nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning you give it. So what meaning do you want to give this situation? And think about it. What meaning have you given it right now, right? And if you suddenly go, actually, I'm making it sound like it sucks. Well, change it, and your whole perception will be of the situation will change, and it is all based on perception. Because we're all having the same thing, but because our perception is different from someone else's, our quality of life will be better because of it. And that's what it's about. We want to raise your level of consciousness so your quality of life can change and be upgraded to a higher frequency, so that you get to enjoy even through the hard times, rather than being in fear and victim mode. This is what Hummingbird is all about. This is why we give you the meditations, the affirmations, the courses that are coming soon, the podcasts like this, so that you don't have to be stuck in an old pattern. And insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Yes.
And how you're doing with your kids or your partner or whoever's around you, if you're not getting the result you want, change it. You don't have to keep doing the same thing, right? And this is why we look at it every day. Well, we're comfortable in the way we were talking before, but was it getting us where we wanted to get it to? Was it meeting our vision? No. So we shifted it, and we're trying out different things.
But you see, it also boils down to the partnership that people have with themselves, within themselves, with each other, and with the rest. Because it's like looking at a glass when there are, or at a mirror, right? If there are any spots or whatever, you won't be able to see clearly. So this is why it's important to keep this vessel clean, to keep the material that goes in, to keep your mind clear and your heart pure, because this is what the world needs right now. And we cannot help the world unless we can help ourselves, and we can help the family. I actually posted something on Facebook yesterday by Mother Teresa. If you want to heal the world, go home and love your family. This is where it starts. Your closest people, your relationship with yourself and your closest people is what determines the harmony that you have in your world. And then it just expands from there. It's not about the distractions anymore. It's not about the
Escaping.
outside thing and escaping, because we don't have that luxury anymore. Thank God. Because then we have this amazing opportunity. So again, it's all about the vision. It's all about what it is now that you can create. Opportunities are endless and everything is possible. This is Hummingbird's motto, right? What is possible? Say, for example, you had no limitations whatsoever. This is the choice you are given right now by, the grace of God or whatever. You are given this choice to have and create absolutely anything you want. What would you allow yourself to have? What do you feel you deserve to have? Because it will always come down to the same thing. What do you feel you deserve to have? So this is the time to really dream, and dream big. Because your vision will always be matched. It will always be matched with how much you feel you deserve of that vision. Right? And me and you know that. We've been through roller coasters in our lives and reinvented ourselves over and over again. And it was all because we were so committed to that vision. And we didn't give ourselves excuses not to follow the dreams.
Yeah, no more hiding.
No more hiding.
And it's about showing up and being seen and not limiting ourselves, because, the capacity is there for every single one of us. If we dig deep and unlearn all the past conditioning we believed that was true, when you change the narrative and decide who you want to become and look for all the resources to help you get there, you will get there. And it's not about talent or skill, it's about perseverance and effort. That is it. And I think what you said is a beautiful way to end this podcast. And
Thank you guys for being with us. It is our absolute pleasure.
It really is.
It really is, to be able to speak from our hearts and being able to share it with you. We do hope that it brings that value that we've envisioned it to be, because for us, I guess it's like gold. It's so valuable because we really share our experiences and we share our innermost truths and our life. Really, we have nothing to hide, and we're creating that channel and whatever it is that we do and all the work that we do, so that you may be inspired to do the same. Right?
Yeah, this is it. And if it serves you in any way, and you've got value, please do share or do something. Maybe what your experiences of this, talk your truth on a Facebook Live, or challenge yourself in some way, because I'm sure people in your network would love to hear something different and to see how you have risen up to the challenge of the times.
And this is what Hummingbird is actually about. Hummingbird is the platform that offers this space for people to be able to speak their truth and bring their authenticity out. So everybody is welcome. You have our details, subscribe to the channel, and we will keep you posted on the new things that are coming out. We're very excited about. From next week onwards, there's going to be a lot of new interesting developments. So peace and love to you guys. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, peace and love.
Bye.
Ciao.